Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of my Genealogy Live interviews. So tonight I have a very special guest. I have the host of Genealogy Roadshow on PBS and the president of the NYG&B Family History Society with me, G. Joshua Taylor. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Daniel.
How are you?
I am excellent. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I'm thankfully off break. I'm on a break for about 2 weeks, so I'll be working on a multitude of different things. So it's actually nice to kind of have a break
I'll
because
bet.
oh yeah, it's needed. So anyway, I figured I'd let you introduce yourself just to make sure that I didn't leave out anything.
You covered it just fine. I'm Josh. I'm a genealogist. As Daniel mentioned, I've been on PBS in the States with Genealogy Roadshow, and I currently am the president of the NYG&B, which is the New York Genealogical and Biographical Society, which is the second oldest genealogical organization in the United States.
Right. And how did you start off in genealogy? What started it for all for you?
So I actually started when I was about 10 years old. My grandmother was a genealogist, and she was working on a couple of research problems and got me interested. And from that point, I was hooked, I guess. I sort of did a little bit with her on, and then started taking clients when I was in high school, actually, when I was about 16, and went from there.
Right. And I liked that it was a grandparent because actually last night, Catherine on the Hidden Branch team, she actually released a blog post talking about her three generations. So she's a third generation genealogist in her family. So her mother and her grandmother, did it before her. And so she's a third generation picking up from where her family left off.
Yeah,
Uh, oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I was going to say my grandmother. So her mother did family history, and her mother did family history, and her mother did
Oh,
family history. So it was I didn't know that when I started, but I inherited multi generations of people interested in it.
so your mother kind of broke the chain, kind of saying, "Oh, I'm not. I'm the one that's kind of going to stop this."
Right,
And
right. Yeah, it skipped a generation, but that's okay.
yeah, at least you'll probably bring it on to future generations now in your family. Now that's the
Right, let's
main.
hope so.
So, what projects or ventures are you currently pursuing?
Oh boy. So personally, a couple of research projects. I have a circus performer, and I talk about him from time to time. But he's a nephew of one of my direct line ancestors. But in the 1850s and 60s, he traveled all over the world performing, and I have been sort of working on his biography little by little. And so I'm continuing to trace. Seems like every time I think I found everything, I find a brand new a brand new thing. I mean, he was born in Illinois in 1839 and died in India of smallpox in the 1870s. And it just is, he has no living descendants that I can identify. But I'm just fascinated. So I'm working on that. And then I have spent the past year, while we've been at home, redoing all of my citations of my personal research over the years and getting everything sort of up to snuff, so to speak, with that. And so I'm starting to dive into some long-standing brick walls in my own family and trying to get back into research a little bit more.
Fair enough. And obviously, now that I have a bit more of a break, I can now do it. Yay!
Right.
But no, and that is something I need to try and do, but it always seems so daunting, is citing sources. I will eventually do. I will eventually get around to it, I promise. But yeah, one day I will take the plunge and start. just before we keep going, another a question came in. I get to do this.
Um, Mr. Lowe, so what point in your did I know I wanted to do genealogy? I was probably 13 or 14, and they were starting to do those career sort of interviews in school. And I walked in and I said, I want to be a genealogist. And the guidance counselor was like, well, I don't have a pamphlet for that. I don't have I don't even know what that is. And I sort of decided that that's what I wanted to do. And everyone I talked to told me that it was a crazy, like, why are you going to do that? That's not a real thing. That's not a profession. And I was very, very lucky to have met other professional genealogists who had been in the field for a long time, who sort of, just said, no, you can actually do this. And sort of helped me out along the way. But yeah, I was 13 or 14 when I knew I wanted to do genealogy, and I was obsessed from that standpoint. But yeah, that was when I sort of converted this is a fun thing to sort of dabble in from time to time to, no, I actually I want to do this.
Right. And for me, I was actually the same as you. I started at 13, so I've been doing it 4 years now. It's in January, so picking new things up along the way when I'm able to do it. So obviously you've been researching for quite a while. So what resources have you found most helpful?
And I love archives, all sorts of archives and different repositories. I think, ironically, the most useful sources are actually other genealogists, others who've been there and who've tackled the problem before. Every time I get stuck, I talk to someone like, oh, well, there's this great record set here, and I think sometimes we get so caught up in, well, everything's on that website or that source that I use all the time. But if you start talking to other genealogists, they know about obscure record sets that you would never even think to look into, but can be really useful. So I would say I like working with other genealogists.
Yeah, and actually, I like the kind of spin you took to that as an answer, because I wouldn't have. If I was asked that, I don't think I would have used kind of other genealogists as an example. But I think it's true because me being very active on Twitter, I obviously follow genealogists from all different viewpoints. So if it's Australian, French, US primarily, I think, as well as Irish and English, and Welsh and Scottish. But kind of it's the fact that you're following along, and you kind of pick up little tidbits of info that you might be able to use, even if you don't necessarily have ancestors in that area. Because if you did my family tree, you would have found no ancestors that were born in another country, but obviously there were ones that emigrated to New York was primarily it, and the odd one that went to New Jersey. I think that was the other. I think that was the only different one. Who I still haven't found a father for, but he mightn't have one. That's the interesting bit, but I haven't found that yet. Anywho, I digress. So, is there anything that you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
I wish that I had. That's a really good question, because there's so much that I didn't know, and I learn new things all the time. And I guess I think that would actually probably be the answer, is that it's okay to not know everything right away. And especially when you're researching in a new area, I mean, the methods of research are tried and true. How do you analyze sources? How do you develop a research plan? But every area has its own unique types of records and idiosyncrasies that you have to work to understand. And I wish that I had known that it's okay not to know everything when I had first started, and because I used to spend so much time, trying to check off all the boxes, and then I realized, well, wait, I can't do that, because I don't even know what's out there, and it's okay to it's okay to miss something and come back a year later and say, well, now I know about that, so I can apply it to this research problem. And if I had started that process earlier, I would have actually been probably more successful in my research. The idea that if oh, well, I learned that about this family. Now let me go back and apply it to this project that I worked on a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I'd say for me, it's kind of saying don't take everything as gospel, which I did, especially at the start, because one instance I always keep going back to is my great grandfather, James Carney, who his parents were Anthony Carney and Mary Mullaney, Mullaney, and I couldn't find one because I always kept looking for that particular spelling. But I think, and it's the only one that comes any way close to it, is a Mary Mulligan. Obviously, it might have been mistranscribed or something, but it was probably. I always kept saying, "Oh wait, I don't even know if that's the right one or something." But my gut's telling me it is. So
yep.
I'm just kind of relying on that.
Yeah. Trusting your gut is key. I think if I gave a second answer to that, it would be, you learn sort of, I always call it the genealogy tingly feeling, when you just know, right? I know it's right. And you look at a problem and you're like, wait, I know in my heart of hearts that that's the right thing. But and then you start to work and you say, can I prove it or disprove it? But yeah, you sort of develop it and start to trust yourself more and more.
Okay, good. Genealogy thing, I like that.
It's not, I mean, people describe it as different, but it's, and the more and more you do research, you start to recognize things, and you become more, more comfortable and familiar with the sources you're using.
So, what aspect of genealogy do you like the most? So, what I mean by that is like looking for records, seeing photos, learning stories.
I will admit I love the archival on the grounds research. I love the hunt. I'm happy to sit on the computer all day and look at sources, but I love the put me in an archive with a list full of collections to look through, and I'm happiest. I love it. It's sort of that. I love being in an archive. I love discovering new sources, but that process that you never know what's going to be on the next page when you're looking through something is just that's what makes it really fun for me.
Just looking at the comments that are coming in now, and we have someone sharing the same opinion. Love the genealogy tingly feeling. I think you've coined the term now. I think it's safe to say.
That's right. We'll see.
It could be worse. It could be much worse. So, what is an interesting story or event that you've discovered about your ancestors?
Boy, I'm trying to not talk about the circus performer because he's always on my mind.
Talk about anyone you want. I don't mind.
Well, actually, I've told the story a few times, but I had an ancestor who my family basically said that he abandoned the family, disappeared, and I found out he actually he was convicted for stealing cheese and got sent from England to Australia, and I had no idea, and sort of found this convict record and all of this. I mean, it was great because I was going to Australia, and I have this whole connection now, but it was really a brand new world for me. So I think that was probably the most unexpected sort of story that I came across, was sort of finding the truth of his, he stole a piece of cheese, and then he went to prison, and then he escaped from prison, and so he's in the newspapers, and then he got caught again, and then he got transported, and it's all of his children made up different versions of what happened to their dad.
At least have
right, and magically, this is the best part, his wife magically had 3 children that were baptized with their father's name while their father was in Australia and she was in the UK. And I still have no idea who the real father is, but I didn't realize that until I started looking at it and putting the dates together and realizing that was physically impossible for that father's name to be correct on that particular baptismal record.
He could have swam.
That's true.
Although you'd want to be swimming for quite a while. At least with your ancestors, you have the thrill. Like on my mother's side, I found more because my mother's ancestors were a bit more interesting than my father's. Let's say my father's ancestors were primarily farmers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was either farmer, ag lab, or landholder. I don't think it varied outside of that. And my mother had a few rebellious figures in Irish civil history. So Irish War of Independence, the IRA. My mother's grandfather was a commander for the Irish Republican Army. So George Lennon and the connections that he had with them and the local history. I follow Waterford County Museum on Facebook, and that's primarily how I've compiled all the stories, because they're from their archive, which they have thankfully opened up to the public for them to see. So that's how I kind of know anything about them. But my dad's Zippo. I may have found a ancestor of mine who was caught for stealing material to make shoes. That's but the problem is he has a common as muck name in that area, so I don't know if it's him. I don't really. It's very hard to verify if it is him. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And comment on your story and mystery.
Yep.
And seeing as just to break up, my monotonous questions with questions to the audience. What is your favorite archive to visit? Any certain archives on your bucket list? And can't wait for restrictions to loosen up so I can visit more. Can very much relate to you, Taralyn. I really want to go and visit the place for my one-place study.
Yeah, my favorite archive to visit. It's hard. I love the American Antiquarian Society in Massachusetts. That they collect sort of printed ephemera from early America up to about 1820, and I love the building. I love the research and the sort of tools that they have there. So it's one of my favorite places to go. Archives that are on my bucket list. I actually am dying to go to the Danish National Archives. I have a lot of families from Denmark, and I spent a week in Denmark sort of driving around and looking at different places, but I didn't ever get into the archives. And I have recently found out that there's some records that are not yet online that I want to explore. And so I am dying to get to get over there. That'll be some time before I can do that. But not everything is online, and you forget that as you start to go through your research. And I have this whole set of records now that are sitting that I just can't wait to explore. But someday I'll get there.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's not necessarily an archive, but a church. For Irish Catholic parish register. Before I continue, I just had to put this off.
It's true. It's true.
Oh dear. But for me, it's a church, and the reason why is because for Irish Catholic parish registers, there is not. It's kind of broken in some places because some have a certain duration from one, and then the others have maybe a shorter or a longer. But for the one I need, it doesn't have the ones I need. I want it for the 1870s, roughly, bit in the 1860s, but it's only 1881. So I've only been able to get one of the children, and there's, I think, seven or eight in total.
Oh,
So
that's
I'd like to try and get the baptisms to try and, see if I can work out any more family members. Because there's one that seems to be constantly evading me, but I will find her one day, whenever that day may come. So, what type of record do you like the most, and why?
I would have to say, I like religious records, particularly the minutes. Um, and this comes because I have ancestors that were, Baptist or Methodist, and they were sometimes very bad Baptists. They got in trouble for things. And I love the minutes because it gives you such a flavor and an understanding of what their lives were like. And so I love religious records for that reason. You know, we don't often read the minutes carefully enough, but you get a sense of what it was like every Sunday or Saturday or whenever they were they were worshiping. It's just a different sort of, look at their life that you don't always get. So that'd be my favorite record set. Right now, it'll change in a year as I start
Oh yeah,
exploring other
absolutely.
things. But right now, I've found a lot of great things there.
Information corrected. Time of recording. For me, and it's been one that stands quite a while, and it's naturalization records. For the few um, siblings of ancestors that I have that went over, it is nice, especially if you don't have a photo of them. And
Hmm.
there is a photo on the form. It's genealogy payday when that when that
Yep.
happens. Because and it's a story I love telling because but in my early genealogy days, going back to the point where I said I always used to take things for gospel, this is one of them. Because I had a granddaunt of mine who went over, who had emigrated to the US, was told she married a fellow called Eshnar, lived and died in Chicago. She did not even go near it. She, I kid you not, I don't know where Chicago came from, but she was living and died and married in Brooklyn.
Well, that's
So
a long way from Chicago.
yeah, so I'd really like to know where the hell, you know,
Right.
the Chicago came from, but I'll never know. But it was only when someone on Twitter had helped me find the naturalization record that actually had a photo of her, and I didn't have any of them. And I think it was only one cousin had, but I didn't know. It was only when I kind of got in contact with them, she kind of said, "Oh, I have a photo on their wedding day." And I mean, this cousin, I think had known that I had been doing the family tree and had doing genealogy for a few years, and I was never told, "Do you want this photo?"
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I would. But no, it's I have it now. I have a copy. That's the main, that's the main part. Uh, and it really is nice because it was the only photo that I had of her husband, so it also was handy in that sense. But it actually, with the main anyway, going back to the point at hand, with naturalization records, I had on the affidavit, it had kind of said Catherine and Thomas F. Devine, who I didn't know how they were related. Little did I know, Catherine Devine was um, my grand aunt's aunt, and Thomas was her son. So it answered what happened to her because I didn't know what happened to her either. But it can definitely provide a wealth of information. And the fact that it gives you, the address, and I'd really like to kind of go there if I could, whenever COVID goes away, so that I can finally visit the house or the residence of where she was living at the time. Uh, Again, interjecting with questions from audience. Another one from Mr. Lowe.
Oh boy, this is hard. um, because there were so many. You know, so there was a story that we worked on where basically we aired a story in season one, and during the middle of researching for the next season, a descendant of some one of the families contacted us and said, you're right, we're the missing branch of that family, and basically extended the whole story and had photographs, and I mean just this incredible treasure trove of materials, and told the sort of rest of this story and of what happened to this missing great grandfather. And it was really, really interesting, because it was one of those situations where I don't know how you would have solved that if someone hadn't actually saw it on TV and said, "Wait a second, I recognize that name. I literally have these papers up in up in my attic that can answer this question." And it never got told. We were never able to wrap up that we found out what happened to this great grandfather. He'd gone away. He'd had a second family. There were other descendants. I wanted the big reunion, bring everybody together, but it never happened. But that was just it was just fantastic that the branch of this family that, he had sort of run away, and we hadn't been able to solve that, but the answers are there. Luckily the person got the answers. It just didn't end up being part of a film segment.
I'd say for me, I'm getting to the point for a appearance on TV. Hello, anyone know? I know John Loftus and Mary Burke. Does anyone know any descendants of them? That's the point where I'm getting to, because I have no cousins practically on Ancestry. The closest I can do is a fifth on my mother's side and a sixth on my dad's side.
Wow.
That's the closest I've gone. And I mean, I had to go really far back. For sixth cousin, I had to go back to my 3 or 4 times with grandparents. It was only when I had a breakthrough with one of the siblings of my great-great-great-grandmother on a baptism cert, and it said 2 names. I think it said Andrew Lavin and Anne, I think. But I kind of thought, okay. So I then just hope it was Burke, and it matched up, and another gut feeling instance, and it was right. And it was actually descending from her. That's how I found my sixth cousin. And the other one, my fifth cousin, it was through my second cousin who the fifth cousin was on a holiday and was going on a local tour kind of of the place, and went into a bar where my second cousin just happened to be that night, and kind of they got chatting. And little did they know, they found out they were related. And when the second cousin found out I was doing the family tree, there you go, have a chat. But no, that's about as good luck as I have. But I live in hope. So, what does genealogy mean to you?
Wow. I mean, to me, it's the discovery of the past, right? That's the past ancestors, and I'd say it's personal discovery. That there's scholarship and all that behind it, but a lot of it's that personal journey of research.
Fair enough. Now, for anyone watching, I am getting near the end of my questions, so if you have any, please do contribute, or else you'll miss out on your chance. So, my last few. What advice, because obviously the times are changing and more young people getting into genealogy like me, what advice would you give to a young person starting out?
Don't give up. First of all, don't give up. It is, it can be very hard, right? Right. Genealogy and family history is traditionally a hobby and a pursuit for different generations, and that don't give up. There's all sorts of things to do, and I think the second thing is you're never going to find your whole family tree, right? You're never going to finish. You're always going to have something more to find, and that's completely okay, right? That's okay. Enjoy the research journey and the educational journey alongside what you're working on. I mean, if I let all my brick walls drive me crazy, I would probably never sleep at night. Look, I still have brick walls that my grandmother showed me when I was 10 years old, right? I still haven't found Joseph Price's parents. I have no idea who they are. I know a lot of parents who are people who aren't his parents, but I have no idea who they are. But it's okay because it's part of that research process. And so I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. But yeah, you'll never solve anything, and that's okay. That's part of the fun experience of it.
Hmm. Yeah, I do agree on that sense with the brick walls because on my mother's side, my two times great grandfather, it's strange because I've gotten farther back on. This is the one bit I keep hitting that I just can't work out. I can't work out who his parents are because his name, well, my two times great grandfather is a Patrick Whelan from Dungarvan, where Whelans run rampant. Try saying that 5 times fast. But it's a problem of common names. So Patrick Whelan was the son of Patrick Whelan and mother, who's the mother. I have two possible ones, but I don't know who's who. Well, I don't know who it is. And I'm not sure if I ever will, because I think that's the thing that's stopping me. Because if I can hit that back, I might be able to go up and out. But again, like I always say, I live in hope, and just hope that one day I will eventually find it, and hope that there's somebody to cheer and absolutely listen to me rant about the problem for about 20 minutes. So, obviously, going back to my previous point, there are quite a number of young genealogists getting into genealogy. Do you think there's kind of a sufficient outlet for young genealogists to kind of express themselves and, connect with each other?
No. I mean, there are more and more resources. I think one of the things about what to do with the hidden branch and that impresses me so much is that, when I was your age, my outlet for connecting with younger genealogists was going to a conference or sitting in a library. And I would walk into a library and I would see someone who was my age, and it was like Christmas. I mean, I was so excited. I'd be like, oh my goodness, somebody here who's young doing family history. And, usually they had been dragged there by an adult and didn't want to be there at all. And so it was sort of, it was a disappointment. But I'd go to conferences and I'd connect with other young genealogists. And, no, that there's not enough outlets. There's not, Twitter and social media helps you connect with people, in different ways. And so it's very different, and it's important to connect and to share and to learn that you're not the only young person out there doing genealogy. So I there are more outlets than there used to be, but there's nothing I think that can stop the creation of more tools and more gathering points and more discussions. Everyone's learning about how to do family history. And when I started, I was that young kid in the library, and some people were raising an eyebrow. What are you doing here? Are you really doing research? How can you be a serious genealogist? And look, I didn't know how to load a microfilm reader. Someone had to teach me how to do that. I didn't know what a census record was. Somebody had to teach me what that was. And it's okay. But having an outlet, I think, helps us all teach one another and helps to normalize the fact that, genealogy is not a hobby that should be bound by the age of the person doing the research. I guess that's ridiculous. You can do family history when you're 10 or 90. I know people at all different ages. So yeah, that's a very long answer to your question. Yeah, the
No,
answer is no, but it is, you know, there can be more, and there should be more things.
yeah. And kind of one thing that I'm still trying to do, and obviously get kind of recognized on a wide scale, blue tick, I can say goodbye to. I'm kidding. Although it would be nice. Is it's just kind of, you know, breaking the stereotype of, you know, only young, or excuse me, only old people do it, or
Mm-hmm.
older people. And it's just, you know, trying to show that, you know, hello, young genealogists can do it. Because for anyone that doesn't follow me on Twitter, I have in my bio, the first line of it is Gen Z genealogist, need I say more? It's just like, be careful where you go after this. But it's just a witty thing I like to say in the sense that, you know, there aren't many kind of you know, around and kind of don't worry, I will get older too. I know, Mr. Lowe, thank
All
you.
right.
And one thing I've kind of realized is kind of when I got into genealogy on Twitter, um, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but one of my Hidden Branch colleagues, I will kind of keep him anonymous. But one person kind of said to me, "God, you like famous," and I'm thinking, "What?" And he just kind of said, "Oh, I followed you on Twitter, but I didn't think you'd ever reply to me or interact with me." And I'm kind of thinking, you're kind of what I've been looking for, like since I've started. Someone young, someone my own
Mm-hmm.
age, doing this. And, you know, it was kind of, it only kind of hit me when he told me then, kind of thinking, there really must be that rare or not very, it's not very common to come across one. Uh, you know, it's just, you know, kind of connect with them while they're there and, you know, kind of help them along the journey. And just because, ironically, I am kind of preparing a presentation on this kind of a topic, something similar. But it's just, and it's going to be fun trying to put it all in a presentation. I'm so out of touch with it. But it's just, you know, it kind of only made me realize kind of how few there are. If he had only heard of me through someone else who follows me and then kind of thinks, oh, there's someone I can interact with. Let's give it a shot. And
Right.
it's kind of hoping that, you know, more young people will get into it. And I think one thing that does kind of influence possibly is kind of, you know, people their own age doing it. If they see sort of someone like I'm 17 at the moment, and if someone around my age are kind of seen, oh look, there's a 17-year-old, you know, doing genealogy, I'll see what it's like, kind of thing. And they might kind of feel a bit more comfortable, you know, interacting with people if there's someone like their own age mixing in with it. Because obviously people, they might kind of feel, you know, it might be a bit weird kind of interacting with perhaps maybe older genealogists. And they might kind of think, oh, it's only the kind of, you know, older generations that are on here. There are no young people. Won't give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, I will say one of the things that I have been grateful for in my sort of own family history journey is that when I was young, there were several professional genealogists who made a very special effort to make sure that I felt included and welcomed at events. And you know, to a genealogist just starting out and going to a conference for the first time, being invited to have lunch with two or three of the speakers to me was just, you know, it was great. And they were patient. They watched me make mistakes. You know, they were very patient, but they showed me that it was okay. And then I would have these great weekends at conferences with with who I called my friends. And then I would go to high school and I would look around and no one did family history. You know, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I did this, I did that. I'm like, I went to a great conference and you know, and so having that community is really important. And it became, you know, to me, I really looked up to and became grateful for other professionals in the field who I now call colleagues. Before they were, you know, strangers. And but having a little bit of both can be really helpful. And you're
Mm.
right, seeing others that are like you know, it's okay because it normalizes the hobby a little more, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's hobbies that all sorts of people do, and knowing that you're not the only person is a great feeling.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Totally not envious of you that you got to, have lunch with speakers. Totally not. Totally not envious. Anywho, question came in.
um, Boy, that's a loaded question. Um, you know, I mean, professionally, you know, working for the NYGNB, you know, we went very virtual with our activities, which was a good thing for us. You know, most of our members are outside of New York anyway, and so doing more online was terrific. And I think for my personal journey, you know, I took time that I would have used to go out, travel, do things, and spent time getting myself back into my own research. And you know, I learned that I had a lot of things to go back and look at again. I think a little bit I rediscovered and some of the, you know, I you never lose your passion, but I rediscovered some of the reasons why I love doing it. You know, I pulled out the old family Bible again and looked through it, and it just sort of it made me have a much deeper appreciation for the research and for things that I had discovered. And I think in a lot of ways, the community as a whole, you know, in some ways we came closer together because the medium that we could connect was the screen, and travel and money, and that was no longer a factor that separated us. But I think we also, you know, longed for the in-person connections and the events and going to repositories. And so I think if anything, it brought the community, you know, closer together because we certainly had more in common. So I would say definitely the biggest con from the past year was not being able to do on-site research, and also not being able to call. You know, I couldn't call an archivist and say, you know, I need to arrange to have this collection, or can I hire someone to look at this collection, because everything was closed. And so I was, you know, some of my research plans couldn't move forward. But I think that, you know, the other side of it is a much deeper appreciation for research, and starting to revisit some of my, you know, my early things where I had realized, you know, wow, I skipped that census record. I never looked at that. And realizing that there's, you know, there's always, again, something more to find. But it was really I sort of, you know, just a rediscovery of some of the great first finds that I had. But you know, it's been challenging, but also it gave you a lot of time to do for a lot of us, a lot of time to work on family history, because we were distracted by all the other things in life.
Yeah, and obviously, I think you are right with the fact that, more online events are kind of, because obviously one of the magazines I subscribe to is Sammy Tree magazine. And for Roots Tech, when they did it, they did, this Zoom breakfast tea, afternoon tea thing. And it had about, I think, 60 or 70 people. And it was just kind of nice because most of the people I interacted with were there. And it was great to, kind of say hello. It's not just, me's little picture in a circle and text with it. There's actually, you are actually talking to actual people. Now, granted, you're not, in person speaking to these people, but it's better than, just reading them in a tweet or something. So, if people do not have any more questions, I think I might end. Because obviously it's getting on and it's all to keep you. Yeah, but no, I'm kidding. I'll keep you here for a while yet. So thank you for coming on. You have been a lovely guest, and it's been great to have you on and listen to you just talk about your evasive ancestors, be it your prices or your uh, what's it called? Convicts. I couldn't think of the word.
Right.
And your circus ancestor, totally more interesting than mine.
Not
Nevertheless,
not necessarily. No, this is. I think all ancestors are fascinating, just in very
yeah,
different ways.
just as more to find on yours. Anyway, so thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned to hear my next interviewee. I've got quite a lineup, although I will have to make some changes. But nevertheless, I shall see you for the next one. Bye, everyone.
All right. Hey, thank you again, Daniel.